Impacts of Climate Change, Mountain Glacier Loss by Sky Cen, David Choi, Manuel Martin, and Raymond Xu.
When we think of consequences regarding mountain glacier loss, several come to mind, which are rising sea levels and loss of habitat for animals who live in the mountain glaciers. Some of the immediate effects can be catastrophic for local populations. Mountain glacier loss caused by rising temperatures can result in glacier lake outburst floods, also known as GLOF, which is when dams containing glacier water overflows or bursts open. This flooding will decimate local populations near the base of the mountain. So the blue in the photo represents the lakes formed from glacier runoff. So an avalanche caused by rising air temperatures can easily break the dam, flooding the local populations.
Many people know about the well-known and immediate effects because simply put, they're obvious. It's clear that ice melting will cause a rise in sea levels. However, what many people do not consider is the consequences in glacier-fed rivers. Catchment glacier cover heavily affects mean water temperature, suspended sediment concentrations, electrical conductivity, channel stability, macroinvertebrate species richness, and diatom species richness. A few key graphs are A, E, and F. Mean water temperature seen in figure A is significantly lower in the presence of high catchment glacier cover. Macroinvertebrate species richness seen in figure E seem to only be slightly affected by catchment cover with a preference of low catchment cover glacier cover, while high catchment cover is highly devastating for diatom species richness seen in figure F.
In another study, researchers concluded that mountain glacier loss from the Tibetan Plateau was not the main cause of the increase of water in the Tibetan Plateau lake. Instead, scientists concluded that the reason that the water in the Tibetan Plateau lake was increasing was due to an increase in precipitation excess. The researchers collected data about precipitation, lake volume, and glacier mass change from 1994 to 2015 and compiled the information within the two graphs seen on the slide. The left graph highlights that glacier mountain loss is increasing relatively steadily from 1990 to 2016. However, the rate of change in lake mass is a lot greater than the change seen in glacier mountain loss. Additionally, an important observation in the graph to note is that lake mass in the Tibetan Plateau has been pretty constant from 2012 to 2015. The right graph showed that the change of lake level and glacier mass. From the graphs, there does not seem to be a clear correlation between the change in lake level and glacier mass. Thus, researchers concluded that glacier mountain loss is not the primary cause of the rising of lake levels in the Tibetan Plateau. However, since this study is not generalized and is specific to one region, this may not be the case for other regions. One of the main dangers of mountain glacier loss is the release of additional carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Even though glaciers primarily store fresh water, glaciers also store carbon dioxide derived from the creation of the glaciers. As glaciers melt, scientists have predicted that the amount of carbon exported from glaciers will increase by 50% over the next 35 years. Not only will this increase in carbon affect the carbon cycle, scientists fear that the increase in carbon over time will negatively impact marine ecosystems and fisheries. This is because as glaciers melt, carbon is transported through river streams into larger bodies of water.
Some of the most highly affected regions of mountain glacier loss include the Peruvian highlands shown in orange on the right, and the Hindu Kush Himalayan regions shown in yellow on the left. They have experienced glacial retreats and many of the local communities experience water shortages since the rivers from the meltwater are their main source of water. For example, the cryosphere contributes to about 70% of the Indus River system. Without the glacial meltwater in the spring and summer, the rivers will go dry. These water shortages are only expected to rise within the future as the glaciers continue to retreat. Since these communities rely so heavily on glacial water for irrigation, the retreat of these glaciers will not only lead to water shortages, but food insecurity as well. Very highly affected regions would include Afghanistan, northern Pakistan, and northwestern India, since they are completely dependent on the snow and glacial meltwater for irrigation.
So mountain glacier loss affects everyone. So even if you don't live in the most highly affected areas, like the base of a mountain, you should still recognize the global effects and consequences, such as increased carbon in our atmosphere and decreased food security.
Thank you for listening to our presentation on mountain glacier loss, and here are our sources.